Hoofd English camera. Break time timer. Helder zaklamp. Schaak geselecteerd. Volume. Nee geselecteerd. Focus. Niet storen. Knop. 20:34. Audio games map. 8 apps. Audio games map. Audio games. Hellhunter Dead Soul. Liggend. Logo overig.
Hellhunter. Damned Soul. Move among the options in the new game. Load game. You have reached Capital Square. Saving point. You saved the meta guy, soldier. Battle begins. The battle ends. Alien gains to the government palace, to the alleys. Soldier. Battle begins. The battle ends. Alien gain to the government palace, to the alleys. You have reached Capital, to the witch house, abandoned building, to the square, to the entrance. You have reached Capital, 2 alleys, to the road to the Capital. This should be the place that the witch indicated to Elian. In fact, that mountain is a perfect hideout, inaccessible by foot and from vehicles. A wolf should be able to cover the distance between the road and the mountain with a leap. You have reached road to the signpost. The distance from the capital is mountain. Most of the mountain is covered. To outside, to the entrance, to the witch's lair. After a very long leap, Elian lands on the mountain without any problem, and returns to Dampier shape. He searches for a while in the depths of the forests, until he finally finds the entrance of a cave. Some steps later, the passage starts to be illuminated. There's a wide area before Elian, and the space is full of coloured and luminous crystals. Elian also sees that a group of witches is gathering there. Looks like they're coming for him. Clearly he's not welcome here. They were ready to intercept him, but they didn't expect this hitch. Elian tried to explain the situation, but the witches won't listen to him, and so they prepare their catalysts and take some time to invoke their familiars. You have reached Witch's Lair 1. Witch. Battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains 100 experience points. Double tap to continue. Crystals. Those magnificent rocks emit lights of many colors like red, blue, green, and violet. Anyway, the light is not natural. That's just a spell cast on them, probably by the witches. The color choice could be just a matter of aesthetics. Familiar. Battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains 110 experience points. Elian gets Blood Vial. Double tap to crystals, computers. On many rows of desks, there are even more computers. They're very recent models. Elian knows how to use computers, but he doesn't know what those monitors are showing on the screen. It looks like some hacker stuff. He doesn't see any cables. They seem fueled by magic. Witch. Battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains 100 crystals. Compute to the road to the cap. Upward. Crystals. Upward. Elian tries to not spend much time against the witches and aims at the leader, so he reaches another wide area. There are many fluorescent and natural columns. There are other crystals as well, and the sight would be very pleasant if only he wasn't chased by all the witches that are starting to arrive. On the way, there's a huge crystal which blocks the path. You have reached Witch's Lair 2. Familiar. The battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains. Witch. The battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains. Hardware. There are many types of hardware in this area, not just computers. The witches aren't joking for sure. Huge crystal. Elian gets close. It's amazing the size of this crystal. When he touches it, it suddenly starts to shake. Elian steps back. It's actually starting to move. It was a curled-up crystal golem. Now he's standing and aims at Elian with its huge fists. Monsters like this have to be defeated with brute force, and they are resistant too. They are strong, but slower than other monsters. The battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains 150 experience points. Double tap to hardware. Downward. Upward. Finally, there's one last wide space. Many crystals are scattered around like in the other spaces. There are many magical screens on the walls of the cave. They really look like big monitor screens, but flat and made of magic. The most powerful witches are gathered here, and among them, one catches Elian's attention. She's the leader and stands up. Her gaze is very nervous, and she expects to hear an explanation from him. You have reached witches. They don't trust Elian, but it's up to their leader to decide his destiny. Most of them look very young. There's also some older ones, who are dressed as in the collective imagination. They don't trust Elian, but it's... You opened the menu page.
Life points. 100% life points. He's in perfect condition. Experience. Elian reached level 1. 1,130. Experience for the next level. Inventory.
You opened the inventory page.
6.
Blood vial.
1.
Wolf relic. A mummified paw of a wolf. It allows Elian to morph into a wolf. A wolf shape is very effective against heavy and armored enemies. Nothing. You opened the menu page. Swipe up to go back to the map.
Instructions. Game 5%. Instructions. You're back in the map.
Screens. Those huge screens are suspended in the air next to the walls. They could be mistaken for holograms, but they are literally 2D flat screens, completely made of magic. Elian notices that on the desks nearby, there are flat consoles made of magic used to interact with them. But due to their nature, the term hardware is not proper anymore. Desk. On the desk is the personal laptop of the leader of the witches. It is customized in a very particular way. Some components are physical, the rest are made of magic. Still, they both merge. There's also some amulet and a tome on it. Dummies. Scattered all around the area, there are straw dummies of many sizes. Most of them are hung on the ceiling by their necks. Witches can use them for their spells and rituals in countless ways. Bookshelves. The shelves are filled with tomes, books, and scrolls of many sizes. It is unlikely that Elian will ever get a chance to get closer to them. Leader of the downward. Leader of the witches. The leader looks like an adult woman, yet quite young. She has short and spiky blonde hair. She's dressed in a way which resembles the witches of the past, yet the dress looks modern somehow. The leader of the witches has an authoritarian attitude and a harsh gaze. It won't be easy to deal with her. Elian takes a step forward and quickly explains the situation. As she could imagine, he came to find a way to stop the plague and the web collapse. She can tell for sure that Elian has been sent from the mayor, so she won't trust him. Actually, she's even more nervous than before. She shouts at Elian that the mayor and all his pawns are just a pile of trash, and nothing good will come from that government. So she threatens Elian to go away, or she will kill him. Elian knows that he can't win against all those witches at the same time. His only chance is challenging the leader to a duel. So he takes another step forward and draws his sword. She's quite angry, but yet teased from his attitude, so she will duel against him. Although she's a witch, she can cast normal spells without even chanting a word. In other words, she can fight melee with magic, while covered from an instant magic barrier. She is a versatile type of enemy. Brute force is required to win, and she's not slow. On the other hand, her strength is medium. This enemy has a special attack called Deadly Attack. This is a sudden attack that an enemy can use during the battle. When you hear this sound, the enemy is doing his deadly attack. You can dodge it like any other attack, but if you get hit, the attack is usually stronger, and it can apply extra effects like strengthening the enemy or weakening Elian for a period of time. The extra effect can be of many kinds, and some of them can be applied by the enemy even without hitting Elian with a deadly attack. The battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains 220 experience points. Double tap to continue. After an intense battle, she runs out of magic power. Elian notices, and so, with a swift jab, he crushes her barrier. After dodging her sudden flame burst, he dashes toward her. An instant later, he stops a few centimeters from her. His blade is even closer to her throat. The leader of the witches is forced to surrender, even if she's full of shame and rage. Despite her state of mind, she tries to calm down and, still very annoyed from the loss, asks Elian what exactly he expects to obtain from them. This time, Elian explains every single detail, but also adds that he doesn't want to follow the orders of the mayor. Still, this situation must end. He also says his true mission within the capital. She's going to kill the mayor and the other members of his party anyway. The girl that died on the square was the daughter of one of the witches inside this lair. The leader says that this is just their working station. Any single witch has a family to whom they return. Many of them decided to live inside the capital as normal citizens, but their safety is not granted, as long as a government like that will rule the capital. She has a solution for Elian. He just has to return inside the government palace and announce the success of his task. At that moment, he will have to activate a certain artifact, which is now in her hands. That artifact will teleport all the witches in that place. They will exterminate their target, and so Elian will get his chance to get the document he's searching for. It's not easy for Elian to decide. Even if his role is just to activate a magic item, the consequence of that action will be mass murder. Still, he saw that girl dying with his own eyes. The pain of that mother. He has a reason to make them pay. She's not the first victim, nor the last of this dictature, which is not legitimized by the local laws. In any case, his mission has a greater purpose and involves the whole of mankind and, last but not least, he's a vampire hunter, not a hero. Elian accepts and gets the artifact. Now he can return to the government palace. Downward. You have reached, which is upward, downward. You have reached, which. The battle begins. The battle ends.
Elian gains 100 experience points.
Double tap to continue. Upward, to the road to the capital. You have reached road to the capital. To the witch's lair. To the entrance. You have reached to the helper's house. 2 alleys. To the road. 2 alleys. You have reached to the witch. Abandoned built to the square. You have reached saving point. You say to the government palace. You have reached government palace, floor 0. Flag. Mayor's clerk to the square. Mayor's clerk. Elian communicates the success of the mission. He's glad to hear the news, so he invites Elian to follow him upstairs. As soon as he turns around and steps forward, Elian activates the artifact received from the leader of the witches. A blue flash, along with a vacuum sound, makes an army of implacable witches appear from nowhere. They've already prepared their spells. An elemental storm envelops the whole room, which gets covered by screams everywhere. People escape from the palace, except for the members of the government that the witches won't let go for anything in the world. Some military forces and secret service enter to shoot at the menace, but the bullets are deflected by their magic barriers, supported by the power of the leader. The ambush won't allow them to counter, no matter how heavy their guns are. The leader takes a moment to cast an invisibility spell on Elian. He doesn't waste a second and immediately starts to search for the secret archives. To the square, to the mayor's room, to floor. Elian quickly sneaks inside. Just a few seconds and he will return visible. They are more than enough to bypass the whole security. At some steps from the door of the secret archives, a voice orders him to stop. He's the head of the secret services. He wears a pair of sunglasses, but Elian can feel his gaze, and he's not an ordinary guy. The man is slowly moving his hands toward the 2 Colts that he hides under his coat. Elian must act without hesitation. You have reached government vending machine. Elian shielded himself with it from the first 2 shots of his Colts. He didn't expect that it would have been even more useful in this way, rather than in the normal way. Secret Service. The battle begins. The enemy is getting faster. The battle ends.
Elian gains 120 experience points. Double tap to
Vending machine. Elian round table. After making a swift leap, he kicked the table and managed to shield himself from the bullets. Secret Service. The battle begins. The enemy is getting faster. The battle ends.
Elian gains 120 experience points. Double tap.
Vending machine. Round table. Chairs. They didn't work as a cover. Still, he managed to buy some time, throwing a couple of them. Head of the Secret Services. To floor 0. Head of the Secret Services. Now Elian is close enough to counteract the disadvantage against a ranged weapon. Still, he's very fast and accurate, so it won't be easy. Enemies like this are faster, even if less strong. The battle begins. The battle ends.
Elian gains 250 experience points. Elian gets Blood Vial. Double tap to
Elian strikes his guns. They are damaged to the point they won't be able to shoot anymore. With a kick, Elian makes the head of the Secret Service fall on the ground. He lost. Still, Elian knows that he cannot let one like him escape. Elian tells him, staring straight into his eyes, if he manages to escape, then he will call reinforcements, or even chase him at a later time. The Secret Service can arrive anywhere, so he says that he must kill him. He doesn't even have the time to negotiate. So Elian points the blade at the chest of the guy and makes a light slash on it. Hearing a reaction of pain from him, he starts to laugh. Elian also says that he will need to suck all his blood, so they won't be able to recognize him. And, last but not least, before that happens, he will devour his heart. After saying that out loud, Elian morphs into a wolf and leaps over him. The man starts to scream in fear. Elian rips his clothes with his fangs, and when the chest is exposed, he lightly bites it to the point of making him bleed. At that point, he won't stop screaming. Elian can see his eyes despite the sunglasses, and notices a familiar gaze. That was his gaze when he ran away from Dracula. Elian turns back into a Dhampir and frees his prey from his deadly assault. He gets up and desperately runs away. Elian already knows that he won't annoy him anymore for the rest of his life. He's glad he managed to avoid killing him. Now he can enter inside the secret archive room. Chairs. To floor 0. To the secret archive. This room is full of shelves. Countless top-secret documents are stored here. But Elian is here only for the one for his mission, so he starts his research without wasting a second. You have reached Government Palace, Secret Archive. Archive, Shelf 1. Detailed information about the most shocking political assassinations of the last century are archived on this shelf. Archive, Shelf 2. Many unknown facts about secret deals among the governments of the last decades and criminal organizations can be found on this shelf. Archive, Shelf 3. An entire shelf is dedicated to top-secret files about the Second World War. Archive, Shelf 4. On this shelf, it is possible to know all the missing details about the most shocking mass murders of this nation from the last century. There are even the names of instigators and perpetrators. Archive, Shelf 5. There's an entire shelf which contains all the sightings of monsters, real or presumed, inside the territory of the nation. Particular attention is given to vampires and huge creatures. Archive, Shelf 6. On this shelf are stored all the contracts stipulated from the nation with multinationals of the world. There are even detailed reports about the impact on climate change, global warming, and pollution. Archive, Shelf 7. This shelf contains many documents about political agreements of the last century. Archive, Shelf 8. This shelf is very dusty. It seems like people are used to leaving the secret archive after checking the first 7 shelves. To floor B1. Archive, Shelf 1. Archive. There's an entire shelf which contains all the sightings of monsters, real or presumed. Archive, Shelf 4. On this shelf, it is possible to know all the missing details about the most Archive, Shelf 6. Archive, Shelf. On a closer look, Elian finds the document he was searching for. He didn't expect to find it on this shelf. Elian gets the secret document, and now he can leave this palace. Elian hides the document and quickly exits from the room. To go faster and not be recognized, he morphs into a wolf and rushes toward floor 0. Faster than the wind. The battle is still going on, even if it should rather be called a one-sided massacre. With a leap, he escapes through a window, breaking the glass. Before someone can see him, he hides among the bushes and turns back into a Dhampir. Finally, Elian exits the gate, as if nothing happened. Now he can return to the meeting point. You have reached Capital Square. To the government, saving. You saved the game. To the alleys. You have reached Cap to the witch, abandoned built to the square, to the entrance. You have reached Cap to the helper's house, 2 alleys, to the road to the cap. You have reached road to the witches, to the entrance, to outside the capital. You have reached meeting point. Saving point. You saved the game. Tree. Save. You saved the tree. Between tasks. Elian 10. Medical kit. Alucard usually puts some transfusion bags inside the medical kit periodically. And based on what he says, he doesn't need them. He can rely on his personal supply of blood vials. So Elian just picks them up and transfers the blood inside the vials he creates, with the crystallization of his Dampier powers. This time there are 3 transfusion bags, so Elian gets 3 blood vials. You open life experience. Elian reached level 1. 320 experience for the next level. Inventory. You opened the inventory page. 10. Blood vial. You opened the... You're back in the map. Rock. This rock is the place where Alucard sits during a break. Alucard. Elian returned with the secret document. Alucard tells him he did a good job. They read the document together. Seems like there's an alliance between the capital and a group of vampires. It started decades ago, and government by government, they are always in contact with many influential politicians of the place. The nature of the agreement ranges from exchanges of favors in their activities to sharing of information, especially now that technology has spread all over the world. Elian is quite surprised, but Alucard tells him that Dracula has owned for centuries the monopoly of advanced technologies, and now that the web exists and plays a fundamental role in the economy and society, the fact that all the other vampires are excluded on purpose from its control is the straw that broke the camel's back. Not one of them has the power to pose a threat to Dracula, so they have to secretly form groups and need the help of governments or other organizations to get access to technology. That's not what Alucard was searching for, but there's more. At the stipulation of the agreement, both the parties exchanged an important document as a sign of acceptance. In that way, the vampires got back a very special document. That document is the Black Scroll, which was stolen from a former vampire hunter who worked for the capital about 100 years ago. Alucard reacts to that. It's the document he was searching for. The Black Scroll has been hid inside a place called the Catacombs of Oblivion. So that's Elian's next destination. As Alucard speaks, she suddenly appears. Elian's former Scarlet torturer. The beauty approaches Elian from behind and slowly girds his torso with her left arm, and with the other hand she covers his mouth. Alucard doesn't react in any way to the scene, so not even one like him can see her. With a trace of mockery in her voice, she tells Elian that she feels sorry for him. According to her, he just takes orders from that guy and obeys. While the right hand slips down to his throat, her head leans toward Elian. Her red lips are in contact with his right ear. Then she whispers that she wonders what that handsome man does when Elian leaves him alone. She also reminds him that nothing changed since their first meeting. But his only master is her, and no one else. Elian is used to ignoring her, but But since he's having an important conversation with Alucard, he gets nervous and moves as if to shake it off. She gets back and laughs out loud, before disappearing. Alucard asks Elian what's the matter. He answers that it's nothing. He just thought of a ghost from his past. Alucard is not sure he understands, but warns Elian that it sounds like the typical weakness that Dracula can turn into fear in order to defeat his enemy. So he says that Elian needs to work on it and solve the problem before the great battle. Elian knows perfectly well what he means. Dracula already did that to him. Anyway, Alucard gets up and gives him a relic. It's the soul of a wolf. With this relic, Elian will be able to travel as fast as a car, or even faster, while transformed into a wolf, without wasting much energy. Elian thanks him and prepares to go to the catacombs of Oblivion. To the catacomb saving point. You saved to get to the Alucard. Alucard tells Elian that it's possible to reach any place from here, like the capital and the catacombs of Oblivion. That's why they chose this area as a meeting place, after all. To the saving point. You saved to the catacomb. With the power of the Soul of Wolf relic, Elian covered the distance in no time. He arrives at the place. In the middle of a mountain chain, there's a cave entrance sheltered from the sun. Elian ventures inside it. Aside from the stagnant smell of death, this place gives him a horrible sensation. On the way there's some candles which grant a dim light, better than nothing. Elian feels like he's being watched. Many bones, corpses, and rudimentary coffins are piled and stocked all over the place. But he already knows that there's no better place than this to find a nest of undead. He hears many steps, which become faster and then jump. A group of ghouls arrive to welcome their guest. They are humanoid undead that, unlike zombies, are fast and intelligent. Under their pale blue skin, their bones agitate and emerge out of their skin to be used as sharp weapons. They stare at Elian and emit feral noises. You have reached catacombs, 50 feet below ground. Candles. Those candles are still lit. Yet it's definitely not a place populated by people. Elian can sense some magic inside them. They have been crafted with a ritual. They will burn for centuries. Ghoul. The battle begins. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting slower. The battle ends. Elian gains 120 experience points. Candles, bones. Most of them are humanoid bones, but he's not sure if they are human bones. Also, there are many bones from monsters as well. Holes. On the walls, there are many rectangle-shaped holes. Inside them, there are the candles, along with many wooden coffins. Elian could swear he heard something moving inside one of the coffins. Ghoul. The battle begins. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting slower. The battle ends.
Elian gains 120 experience points. Elian gets Blood Vial. Double tap to continue.
Candles, bones, holes, to outside, downward. Elian descends to a path filled with coffins. Some of them are opened and empty. As he goes further, he hears some steps. Many steps, actually. They are there, all gathered in one place and covered from head to toe with linen cloths. There's a herd of mummies. They are too many. It seems impossible to pass behind them. Elian could even consider ignoring them. You have reached catacombs, 100 feet below ground. Corpse. Elian uses his power and touches the corpse. He was in search of treasure inside the coffins. When he got close to those sarcophagi, they all came out. They were countless and surrounded him. Even if he tried to run away, it was too late. They grabbed him. His limbs broke by the pressure, his neck as well. Not before his eyes were gouged out by their fingers. Coffins. Probably those were mummies inside. There's even some closed coffins, but Elian is not interested in knowing what's inside. Mummy. The battle begins. The enemy is getting stronger. The battle ends.
Elian gains 100 experience points. Elian increases his experience level. Double tap to continue.
Elian slays a mummy. A few seconds later, the body returns to its previous state. The beads as well. And the mummy immediately stands up. If the mummies regenerate so fast, Elian will never be able to defeat them. He's forced to retire. There's probably an ongoing ritual which allows them to keep regenerating. Corpse. Cat coffins. Probably the mummy. Battle begins. The enemy is getting stronger. The battle ends.
Elian gains.
Elian slays a mummy. A few seconds. You have reached downward, upward, mummy. The battle begins. The enemy is getting stronger. The battle ends.
Elian gains.
Elian slays a mummy. A few seconds. You have reached downward. In this area, Elian hears someone muttering. There's a humanoid being facing away. He's brewing something inside a cauldron, which is placed under a blue fire. A sort of stew is boiling and emits a nauseating smell. You have reached catacombs, 150 feet below ground. Saving point. You saved the game.
You saved the game. Corpse. The battle begins.
Elian is getting slower. The battle ends. Elian has been caught by surprise by that ghoul, which he's mistaken for a humanoid corpse. Why was it here? Saving point. You saved corpse. Wall. What it seems to be is a bunch of ingredients hung on the wall. And there are holes in the wall as well that contain other ingredients. Those ingredients are old spices, bones, insects, meat from many creatures, entrails, and many other organs. Corpse. Saving point. You saved the game. You saved the game. Corpse. Wall. Goat skin. A goat skin is next to the wall. Elian checks the contents. Blood. He transfers the blood to his vials and gets 2 blood vials. The goat skin is empty. Necromancer. Cauldron. Inside the cauldron, there's an almost black liquid which is boiling. On the surface, some ingredient slightly emerges. What Elian just saw is more than enough to make him desist from looking longer inside the cauldron. Upward. Cauldron. Necromancer. That cauldron is actually the catalyst of a ritual. Elian realizes that the creature in front of him is a necromancer. If he attacks him now, he could kill him in one blow. Elian swiftly moves forward, but he fell into a trap. The necromancer suddenly turns around and, after picking something from the cauldron with his bare hands, he pulls it out and throws it at Elian. It's a giant scolopendra. It's still alive, and it wraps around Elian's body. Right away, the necromancer is ready to cast spells at will upon Elian. Monsters that can attack from many directions or that can grab Elian can be defeated faster, dodging them, rather than with brute force. The battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains 200 experience points. Elian gets blood vial. Double tap to continue. Elian frees himself from the scolopendra and with a slash cuts the throat of the necromancer, which dissolves into dust. Elian extinguishes the blue flame under the cauldron. The ritual is stopped. Upward. Cauldron. Goatskin. Wall. Corpse. Saving point. You saved the game. Corpse. Wall. Corpse. Save it. You saved the corpse. Wall. Goat's cauldron. Upward. You have reached Catacomb. Corpse. Elian used coffins. Mummy.
Battle begins.
The enemy is getting stronger. The battle ends.
Alien gains 100 experience points. Double tap.
Mummy. The battle begins. The enemy is getting stronger. The battle ends.
Alien gains 1
Sarcophagi. There are still too many mummies. Alien can't even get one step closer. Mummy. The battle begins. The enemy is getting stronger. The battle ends.
Alien gains 100 experience points. Double tap to continue.
Mummy. The battle begins. The enemy is getting stronger. The battle ends.
Alien gains.
Upward. Down corpse, coffins, mummy, mummy, sarcophagi. Finally, Elian can reach the sarcophagus. He decides to open its heavy lid. On first glance, it's empty. But among the darkness, Elian notices a weird item. It could be a phylactery, since they are often bound to a lich, and, considering the place, Elian doesn't hesitate and cuts it with his sword. The magic stopped flowing through the cut phylactery. Mummy, mummy, upward, downward. You have reached Catacomb saving point. You saved the game. Downward. Elian keeps descending. The path is even deeper. After a long walk, Elian starts to hear a very annoying and continuous noise, which is caused by swarms of hellish locusts. They don't infest the crops, but rather human population. Luckily, they are stuck here. There's also a malevolent presence. Elian notices some statues with a wicked shape. They represent humanoid limbs, all twisted among themselves, and their union forms a humanoid shape. You have reached catacombs, 300 feet below. Dried corpses. There's literally a pile of corpses. They are dried to bones. The cause must be those hellish locusts. Swarm of hellish locusts. Battle begins. The battle ends.
Elian gains 110.
Dried corpse chalks. The only reason why there could be a bunch of chalk here is because they are used to trace figures on the floor or the walls. Probably for a ritual or something. Dry swarm of hellish locusts. The battle begins. The battle ends.
Elian gains 110 experience points. Elian gets... You open life inventory.
You opened the inventory page.
11.
Blood
You open experience life point. Less than 75% life points. He's a bit tired. You're back in the map. You open life instruction. Game battle background 70, 40, 10%. Alert sat bat game progression 12%. Instructions. Inventory. Experience points. You're back in
downward. Elian can see an altar here. There's also some bookshelf. In front of the altar there's a skeleton which still moves. But he's not an ordinary one. He's dressed and wears a cloak. He's reading a tome, and he emits an eerie fog. Elian fears that a lich stands before him, a powerful and undead sorcerer who sold his soul in exchange for power, knowledge, and eternal life. You have reached catacombs, 350 feet below ground. Bookshelves. Many books, tomes, and scrolls are stored here. Most of them are about black magic, necromancy, and rituals. There's also some books about anatomy and medicine. Elian checked all the scrolls, but the black scroll is not here. Many books, piles of bones. There are many bones. They are piled like columns. Elian can't tell if that has been done for making some ritual, or if it's just for the sake of the macabre. Lich. Altar. Upward. Altar. Elian won't be able to check the altar. Not until the Lich is there. Lich. Elian launches toward the Lich. He broke a phylactery, so he won't have to worry about his resurrection. The Lich won't let Elian escape. The battle begins.
Elian is defeated. Seems like this is the end.
Swipe left to load the last. You have reached catacombs, 150 feet. Saving point. You say downward. Elian keeps descending. The path is even deeper. You have reached catacombs. swarm of hellish locusts. The battle begins. The battle ends.
Elian gains.
Downward. Elian can see an altar here. There's also some book. You have reached Catacombs. 350.
You opened life point. Less than 50% life experience.
Inventory.
Instruct. Game progress.
Battle background. Volume set.
70. 40. 10%.
Alert sound on. Activated.
You're back in the
Bookshelves. Many piles of bone. There are many bones. Lich. Altar. Elian. Lich. Elian launch. The battle begins. Elian is getting weaker. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting weak. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting weaker. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting weak. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting weaker. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting weak. 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 Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting weaker. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting weaker. Elian is getting slower. Elian is getting weaker. Elian is getting slower. The battle ends.
Elian gains 450 experience points. Double tap to continue.
With a powerful blow, Elian splits his skull in half. A blast of blue light forces Elian to cover his eyes. When the darkness returns to dominate this place, he can see on the ground just his cloak. Elian didn't even sense his death. The reason is because no soul has had to abandon its dead body. That is what people get when they come to the conclusion that there's something which has a greater value than their soul. Nothing.
You open life 100 inventory. You opened the inventory page. 8. Blood vial. You open. You're back in the map.
Upward. Altar. Aside from the tome on the altar, there's nothing. Yet there's something below. Under the altar, Elian finds some scrolls, and one of them is the Black Scroll. This place is very dangerous. It's not wise to descend further. Also, Elian accomplished his mission, so he should talk to Alucard. Upward. You have reached Catacombs, 300 feet below. Swarm of hellish locusts. The battle begins. The battle ends.
Elian gains 1.
Downward, upward. You have reached Catacomb. Saving. You saved the game. Down, upward. You have reached downward, upward. You have reached downward to outside the... You have reached meeting point. Saving point. You saved the game. Tree. Medical kit. There's no Rock. Alucard. With the black scroll in his hand, Elian returns and gives it to Alucard. They check the content, but the language is ancient and unknown to Elian, but not to Alucard. Hence he starts to read and translates to Elian. It seems like it has been written centuries ago, and inside it is gathered priceless information about Dracula and his castle. Information of which not even Alucard was aware of. The relevant details are that, first of all, the castle of Dracula is not just a castle. It's an extension of Dracula's soul, and that explains its chaotic nature. Within the castle, Dracula can channel his will, so it's sentient and shares its perception to Dracula. There's more. Dracula perfected its structure with his knowledge and the advanced technology that only the Lord of Darkness owns. Basically, the castle is a supercomputer of incalculable power. It's fueled by a structure in part organic and in part electric. The merge with technology makes it immune to human technology, which includes missiles and any other form of weapon. Last but not least, the electric energy is gathered with a unique and exclusive system that only Dracula could ever use. A photovoltaic structure is merged with the matter of the castle. Dracula also exploits the vampire's weakness to the sun to increase the capacity of the conversion rate of solar energy up to 100% or more. That's quite shocking. Elian wonders if it's even possible to win against that thing. Alucard is thinking over a measure. The implication of that document and the information they already had mean that Dracula basically can be anywhere, and he can perceive everything. Wherever there's human technology. Besides, nothing can harm him from outside the castle. The only way to win is lock the castle, enter it, and fight Dracula. But it's necessary to isolate Dracula from the castle itself also. The Lord of Darkness is not just an epithet. For centuries, Dracula has always reincarnated, and so he never dies for good. Alucard knows only one way to do that. He needs the power of time. He's going to borrow it from Galmoth, the god of time, which means he will have to fight him. That's not a feasible task for Elian. Alucard has other plans for him. Inside the scroll, there was other information about the group of vampires which has existed for centuries. During all this time, they searched for a way to defeat Dracula, and some decades ago, it seems like they found a solution. They are planning something big, step by step, and they meet periodically inside a mansion hidden in a secret location among the mountains. Those meetings are called Dark Assemblies, according to what the document says. They meet at each full moon. Elian must infiltrate that assembly to gather some information. To do that, he will need to steal the identity of one of the members. But it won't be a simple disguise, since he would be discovered in no time. He must craft a relic specifically made for this purpose. He needs a vampire essence to fuel the catalyst. The catalyst is the other component. To be precise, it is a part of the body of the vampire of whom Elian will borrow the identity. Alucard checked the list of the members, and the two closest are located in a stronghold and in a tower, respectively. Especially when sneaking inside the stronghold, Elian will probably need to transform into something small enough to not be seen and be able to fly, like a bat. There's some bat relic inside the catacombs, according to one paragraph of the scroll, about the structure of the catacombs. They are hidden in the same place in which there was a lich. Since Alucard told Elian many things all in one go, if he needs to hear briefly what he has to do again, then he can talk to him before he leaves for the Valley of the Timeless. To the capital, Alucard. Alucard tells Elian that he needs the bat relic to sneak inside the stronghold. He can find it inside the catacombs of Oblivion. He should search where he found the lich. Then he must go to both the stronghold and the tower to get a vampire essence and a vampire relic, no matter in which order. After Elian does that, then he will be ready to sneak inside the mansion. All three locations are accessible from here. To the lake, to the chaos, to the lake stronghold, to the chaos tower, to the mansion. Saving point. You saved the game. You saved tree. Medical kit. There's no rock. Aluk to the catacomb. To the catacomb. You have reached Katak downward. You have reached Katak downward. You have reached Katak saving point. You saved the game. Downward. You have reached Katak swarm of hellish locusts. The battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains 1. Downward. You have reached catacombs, 350 feet below ground. Bookshelves. Many books, tomes, and scrolls are stored. Many piles of bone. There are many. Altar. There's nothing else that can interest Elian. Upward, downward, narrow passage. Elian, as a wolf, swiftly passes through the narrow path. From there he can proceed by foot through a long path. The way ends with an open space. Elian can see a group of blood skeletons wandering around. Their body is actual blood, shaped like a skeleton, which is solidified, of course. Alucard warned him about the fact that they are stronger than normal monsters. He could attempt to avoid them, walking on the opposite side. You have reached Katak upward, pedestal. On the pedestal, there's a relic. Elian is about to get the globe, but suddenly from the ceiling falls a giant creature. It's a bat! Elian dodges his attack just in time. That giant bat camouflaged itself with the ceiling due to the darkness which reigns supreme in those catacombs. Anyway, Elian won't allow it to surprise him anymore, and prepares for the battle. The battle begins. The battle ends. Elian gains 300 experience points. Elian gets Blood Vial. Double tap to continue. Now Elian can get the relic. It's a dry bat wing. That must be the bat relic he was searching for. With the bat relic, Elian can now transform into a bat. In this way, he will be able to fly and reach many new places which were out of range before. In battle, he can now transform into a bat as well. To change into a bat shape, you follow the same rules as the wolf shape. As a bat, he will have more time to dodge enemy attacks. On the other hand, he will receive more damage in case he fails to dodge. The bat is more suited for battles against groups of monsters. It's suited also for monsters that can attack from many directions, or that are able to grab. To change from a shape to the other ones, you have to tap with 3 or more fingers, but since Elian has 3 different shapes, now the shapes will follow this order: Dhampir, Wolf, and then Bat. While transformed, Elian won't be able to heal himself with blood vials. The pedestal is now empty. Upward. You have reached Catacombs, 350 feet below ground. Narrow passage. Downward. Upward. You have reached Swarm of hellish locusts. The battle begins. The battle ends.
Elian gains 110 experience points. Double tap to continue.
Downward, upward. You have reached Catacombs, 150 feet below ground. Saving point. You saved the game. Downward, upward. You have reached downward, upward. You have reached downward to outside the You have reached saving point. You saved the game. You saved the game. Tree, rock, medical. There's no rock. To the to the cat, to the lake, to the chaos, to the mansion. Saving point. You saved the game. Tree. Medical kit. You opened the menu page. Quit game. Hell Hunter. Damned soul. Move among the options in the main exit game.
Stand. Hellhunter Damned Soul. Logo overig.